Space, the final frontier. Once a realm of peaceful exploration, it is now a stage for potential conflict. As technology advances, so too does our reliance on space-based assets. Satellites are critical for communication, navigation, and intelligence gathering. This dependence has not gone unnoticed by global military powers. The militarization of space is a growing concern. It raises important questions about the future of warfare and the peaceful use of outer space. Space warfare is no longer a concept confined to science fiction. It represents a new and dangerous chapter in human history. With nations increasingly reliant on space-based technologies, the potential consequences of conflict in orbit are immense. Satellites, once symbols of human ingenuity, can become both targets and weapons. Understanding the current state of space warfare, its potential trajectories, and the ethical and strategic considerations it raises is paramount. This essay delves into the evolving landscape of space security, exploring the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. It is a call for awareness, dialogue, and ultimately responsible action to ensure that space remains a domain for cooperation, not conflict. In the 21st century, space is the ultimate high ground. Satellites are silent sentinels. They provide essential services. Communication, navigation, and Earth observation rely on them. Military forces depend on them for intelligence and control. These assets are vulnerable, their orbits are predictable. Anti-satellite weapons are a growing concern. The destruction of a satellite could have cascading effects, disrupting communication, financial transactions, and military operations. Collateral damage is high. Debris could threaten other satellites and manned missions. Protecting these assets is paramount. International cooperation is crucial for space security. Space has become an integral part of military operations worldwide. Nations are increasingly reliant on space-based assets for a wide range of military functions. Satellites provide a global view of the battlefield, enabling real-time intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, and early warning systems. Space-based sensors can track troop movements, monitor communications, and even detect missile launches. This information is critical for situational awareness, targeting, and early warning systems. It provides a significant tactical and strategic advantage in modern warfare. Beyond intelligence gathering, space-based systems also play a crucial role in communication, navigation, and timing. Military forces rely on satellite communication for secure and reliable communication channels. Global positioning system satellites provide precise navigation and timing information, essential for everything from troop movement to missile guidance. The development and deployment of anti-satellite weapons add a new layer of complexity to the militarization of space. These weapons, while not yet commonplace, have the potential to cripple a nation's space-based infrastructure, disrupting critical military and civilian operations. The framework of international space law established during the Cold War struggles with rapid militarization and commercialization of space. The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 prohibits weapons of mass destruction in orbit or on celestial bodies. However, its language is vague, especially regarding other space weapons. It does not ban conventional weapons or anti-satellite weapon testing. This ambiguity leads to a lack of clarity on acceptable behavior in space. Moreover, the treaty lacks effective enforcement mechanisms. No international body has the authority to police space or enforce treaties. This raises concerns about potential conflict in space. The international community needs to strengthen the legal framework for space activities. Section 5, the rise of space militarization, a new arms race. The increasing militarization of space has raised concerns about a new arms race, one with potentially catastrophic consequences. As nations develop more sophisticated space capabilities, the temptation to view space as a potential battleground grows stronger. The development and testing of ASAT weapons, even if not immediately deployed, contribute to a climate of mistrust and insecurity in space. The possibility of a single incident escalating into a wider conflict cannot be ignored. The debris generated by ASAT tests or an actual conflict could create a hazardous environment in orbit, jeopardizing the safety of all spacefaring nations. This potential for an arms race in space underscores the urgent need for international dialogue and cooperation. Establishing clear rules of engagement, confidence-building measures, and transparency in space activities are essential to prevent misunderstandings and reduce the risk of conflict. Section 6. The private sector in orbit. Opportunities and challenges. The private sector is playing an increasingly prominent role in space exploration and exploitation. Commercial companies are launching satellites for communication, Earth observation, and even space tourism. This commercialization of space presents both opportunities and challenges for space security. On the one hand, the private sector can contribute to the peaceful and sustainable use of space. Commercial satellite operators can provide valuable data for disaster relief, environmental monitoring, and scientific research. The growth of the space industry also fosters innovation and technological advancements that can benefit all spacefaring nations. On the other hand, the involvement of private companies in space activities raises concerns about the potential blurring of lines between civilian and military applications. Dual-use technologies designed for both civilian and military purposes can be difficult to regulate and control. Section 7. Cyber warfare in space, a clear and present danger. While the prospect of kinetic warfare in space is concerning, the threat of cyber attacks on space systems is perhaps even more immediate and insidious. Space systems rely heavily on complex software and communication networks, making them vulnerable to cyber intrusions. A successful cyber attack could have devastating consequences. Hackers could disable satellites, disrupt communication networks, or even manipulate data transmitted from space. Such attacks could cripple military operations, disrupt critical infrastructure, and sow chaos and confusion on a global scale. The interconnected nature of space systems makes them particularly vulnerable to cyber attacks. A single breach in one system could provide access to others, cascading the effects of an attack. Protecting space systems from cyber threats requires a multi-layered approach, including robust cybersecurity measures, international cooperation, and the development of norms of responsible behavior in cyberspace. Section 8. Visions of future conflicts, from fiction to reality. Science fiction has long depicted epic space battles, with lasers blazing and spacecraft engaging in dogfights. While the reality of future conflicts in space is likely to be less cinematic, the potential consequences are no less significant. Future conflicts in space may involve a combination of kinetic and non-kinetic attacks. ASAT weapons could be used to disable or destroy critical satellites, disrupting communication, navigation, and intelligence gathering capabilities. Cyber attacks could target ground stations, disrupting the flow of data to and from space. The use of directed energy weapons such as lasers is another possibility. These weapons could be used to disable or destroy satellites or even blind sensors on enemy spacecraft. The development and deployment of such weapons would further escalate tensions and increase the risk of conflict in space. Section 9. Towards a safer and more secure space, international cooperation and governance. Ensuring a safer and more secure space environment requires a concerted effort from the international community. International cooperation is essential to establish norms of behavior, prevent an arms race, and promote the peaceful and sustainable use of outer space. One crucial step is the negotiation of new and more comprehensive space treaties. These treaties should clearly define prohibited activities, such as the placement of weapons in space and the use of force against space objects. They should also establish mechanisms for transparency, confidence-building measures, and the peaceful resolution of disputes. Another important aspect is the development of space traffic management systems. As the number of objects in orbit continues to grow, the risk of collisions increases. Effective space traffic management can help prevent accidents and ensure the long-term sustainability of space activities. Section 10. The dual-use dilemma, balancing progress and security. The dual-use nature of many space technologies presents a significant challenge for space security. Technologies developed for civilian purposes, such as communication satellites and remote sensing, can also have military applications. This duality makes it difficult to regulate and control the proliferation of technologies that could be used for military purposes. Striking a balance between technological progress and security is crucial. International cooperation is essential to develop mechanisms for technology assessment and export controls. These mechanisms should aim to prevent the proliferation of sensitive technologies while fostering innovation and cooperation in the peaceful uses of space. Section 11. Conclusion: Space security, a shared responsibility. Space security is not the sole responsibility of any one nation. It is a global challenge that demands a collective response. The future of space exploration and the peaceful use of outer space depend on the willingness of all nations to work together to address the challenges of space security. The militarization of space is a serious concern that cannot be ignored. The development and deployment of ASAT weapons, the increasing reliance on space-based assets for military purposes, and the growing threat of cyber attacks all contribute to a more dangerous and unstable space environment. However, it is not too late to change course. By embracing international cooperation, strengthening the legal framework governing space activities, and promoting transparency and confidence-building measures, we can ensure that space remains a domain for cooperation, exploration, and the benefit of all humankind.